From the moment you became aware of your own body, someone else was already deciding what that awareness should mean. They told you it was dangerous, sinful, shameful, or perhaps they simply told you nothing at all, allowing silence to do the damage. You weren't educated. You were conditioned. And while they were busy shaping your understanding of sex into something you'd either chase blindly or suppress completely, they were stripping of the one thing that made it sacred: your power. Sex was never just about pleasure, biology, reproduction, or attraction. It was and still is your connection to something infinite, a current of energy that doesn't just run through you. It created you. The body is not separate from soul. Desire is not the opposite of divinity. And when you finally strip away the programming, what's left is not shame, it's truth. You weren't born ashamed of your body. You didn't arrive in this world with guilt about your desires. That was given to you, and it started earlier than you think, before you could name it, before you understood what it was. The system had already begun its work. This programming didn't always come with direct words. Sometimes it came through absence, what wasn't said. Sometimes it appeared as jokes at school, shameful glances, distorted media depictions, or religious dogma that turned the body into a battleground between sin and salvation. What they didn't tell you is that this wasn't accidental. It was systematic. Because when a human being is disconnected from their sexual energy, they are easier to control, easier to manipulate, easier to shame into compliance. Your sexual energy is your life force, pure, creative potential. It's the most potent fuel you have. And if they can make you fear it, if they can turn it into something dirty or dangerous, then they can turn you into something small and manageable. And it worked. You've been taught to split yourself, to keep your spiritual life in one box and your sexuality in another. This division isn't natural. It's inherited, and it's made you believe that parts of you are incompatible. But integration doesn't ask you to choose. It asks you to remember that you were never two. Let's explore the profound truths about sexuality that were hidden from you. Number 1, the original sacred union, body and spirit. You were told that to be spiritual, you had to deny the body. That purity meant abstaining, and desire was the enemy of enlightenment. You were handed an image of a spiritual person, detached, serene, untouched by longing, floating above the chaos of flesh. But that image was never yours. It was built to keep you disconnected from the very thing that could set you free. The body was never the problem. The problem was the story they told you about it. The separation of sex and spirit didn't happen by accident. It was a design perfected over generations. In many religious institutions, sexual energy was seen as a threat to authority because it's primal, unpredictable, and powerful. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't obey. And people who are connected to their sexual truth don't bow easily. So, to control them, the body had to become something to fear. Pleasure had to be reframed as sin, and desire had to be painted as a distraction. But here's the truth. Spirit and body were never meant to be separate. They are not opposites. They are expressions of the same source. The body is not a prison. It is the temple. Sexuality is not a detour on the path to enlightenment. It is the path itself. Number 2, ancient wisdom, the unveiled power of sexual energy. Ancient wisdom knew this. Long before institutionalized religion got its grip on the collective psyche, cultures around the world revered sexual energy as sacred. In tantric practice, the union of masculine and feminine wasn't just symbolic. It was literal, energetic, spiritual. The merging of opposites was a return to wholeness. In Taoism, the cultivation of sexual energy, Jung, was a tool for longevity, vitality, and awakening. In Hermeticism, creation was seen as a divine impulse made manifest, macrocosm and microcosm reflecting each other. This energy, when seen clearly, is not just something you release or suppress. It's something you channel, something you cultivate. It's a fire that moves through your spine when you're inspired, the electricity behind your intuition, the aliveness that surges when you're fully present. This pure, unfiltered life force, often called Shakti in India, Jung in China, Sim in Egypt, or Kundalini in the West, is a power not just to create new life, but to awaken your own. Number 3, orgasm as a portal to transcendence. Most people think orgasm is the end of sex, The climax, a moment of relief and release before rolling over and going back to sleep. That's how we've been taught to approach it. A quick burst of sensation, a few seconds of pleasure, and then it's done. But what if that moment, that split second of stillness and surrender, wasn't a finish line but a portal? What if orgasm, when fully understood, is one of the most direct experiences of ego death available to us in daily life? In those brief moments, the mind disappears, thought stops, the body opens. There is no you, no identity, no fear, no past, no future, just sensation, vibration, energy. For a second, you're gone, dissolve into something wider, something that has no name. That's not just biology, that's transcendence. Ancient traditions treated sex not as an act to rush through or avoid, but as a sacred tool for awakening. In tantric practice, the orgasm was not the goal, it was a doorway, a glimpse into the infinite. Number 4, healing sexual trauma, the path to embodiment. The path to reclaiming your sexual energy isn't paved with bliss. It's layered with wounds. Wounds you didn't ask for, wounds you might not even remember, but ones your body never forgot. For so many people, sex isn't freedom. It's fear, shame, or pain wrapped in performance. And underneath that, there's silence. Most of us were never given the tools to talk about it, let alone heal it. We were taught to suppress, to endure, to pretend. And those unspoken experiences bury themselves deep, in memory, in muscle, in breath, in the way we touch and are touched. Sexual trauma doesn't always come from obvious violence. Sometimes it's subtle. A moment you were shamed for being curious, a glance that made you feel dirty, a partner who crossed a boundary you didn't know how to voice. When we carry this kind of trauma, it becomes nearly impossible to access the deeper layers of sex and spirituality. Not because they aren't there, but because the doorway is locked and the key is safety. Without safety, the body doesn't open, the breath doesn't deepen, presence disappears. Healing happens when you meet the body on its terms, not the mind's. Number 5, conscious sex, beyond performance to presence. Most people have sex with their bodies, but never with their being. They touch skin, but never reach what's underneath. They were handed scripts. This is what's sexy. This is how you perform. This is what you do to be desirable. So they followed those scripts, mimicking what they saw in films, repeating what they were told, measuring intimacy by noise, duration, and reaction. But none of that touches the soul. None of that takes you into the place where sex becomes sacred. Conscious sex begins where performance ends. It begins in stillness, in presence, in the choice to be fully there, to show up not just as a body wanting release, but as a being willing to see and be seen. In conscious connection, sex becomes less about what you do and more about how deeply you feel. Eye contact becomes a portal, breath becomes a language, silence becomes a presence. The ego doesn't survive in this space. There's no room for control, no space for validation. It's a meditation, not a show, a prayer, not a game. Number 6, radical integration, the path of wholeness. You've been taught to split yourself, to keep your spiritual life in one box and your sexuality in another. This division isn't natural. It's inherited, and it's made you believe that parts of you are incompatible. You were told you had to choose, be spiritual or be sexual. You couldn't be both. But radical integration means bringing all of you into the light. It means no longer exiling the parts that don't fit a spiritual aesthetic or a social expectation. It means honoring your instincts without shame, your pleasure without guilt, your desire without apology. It's not about being perfect. It's about being whole. And wholeness is messy. It's real. It's sacred in a way that's raw, not polished. When you integrate your sexual energy into your spiritual path, you become more grounded, more intuitive, more in tune with yourself, with others, with life. You become available to what's real, available to the moment, available to love, not the scripted version, but the one that rises in silence when you're not trying to be impressive, just present. You were never disconnected from the divine. You were only taught to forget, told to look upward when you wanted to feel God, to climb ladders built by other people's rules. But the divine was never hiding in a cloud or locked inside a scripture. It was here, in your body, in your breath, in the heat between your hips and the stillness behind your eyes. It's been here the whole time, whispering through desire, pulsing through pleasure, humming beneath the surface of every touch, every sigh, every moment you stopped thinking and simply felt. That's why the system had to sever you from it. It's why they taught you to divide your body from your soul. Because if you remember that sex is not separate from spirit, you'd stop following their map. You'd stop trying to earn your way into wholeness and realize you were never broken to begin with. A person who understands their sexual energy as sacred doesn't beg for love. They embody it. They don't perform for acceptance. They radiate presence. They don't live from a script. They live from truth. The most dangerous thing you can be in a society built on shame is fully alive. And that's exactly what you become when you reunite with this part of yourself. The path forward is not about perfection or becoming some enlightened, sexually activated ideal. That's just another mask. This path is about being real, about being honest enough to say, I don't have all the answers, but I'm here now. I'm ready to feel, to listen, to remember. Because remembering is what this has always been about. Not adding something new to yourself, but stripping away everything that told you to hide, to shrink, to divide. You don't have to earn your sacredness. You were born with it. You don't have to perform spirituality to be divine. You already are. When you strip away the noise, the shame, the old stories, you find that you've been whole the entire time. You just forgot how to feel it. Let others chase the next fleeting pleasure. You are here to reclaim your inherent, sacred power.